bubble pops in the Inland Empire. A story about the destructive power of the bubble gum, how the surface like a melody and a piece of gum set the stage for great changes. Please welcome Trustmaster Eugene Rotari.
An August summer night, soldiers passing by, listening to The Wind of Change. The Wind of Change by the Scorpions was released in January 1991, and almost half a year later, an almost impossible thing happened. The Soviet Union collapsed. What made this magic of the moment on the Glory Night possible? Was it a prophecy or a carefully crafted conspiracy? I was born in Soviet Union, and when I was 10, it ruptured into 15 parts, 15 former Soviet republics. Many people think that it was because of military failures or economic issues. But I knew the truth. It was music and chewing gum. How many of you enjoy fun and energetic music? How many of you try the chewing gum? In the Soviet Union, behind the Iron Curtain, there were many great musicians, scientists, and writers. But any modern Western music was called propaganda, as was a chewing gum. And it was not allowed. In Soviet Union, only privileged kids could have a chewing gum, because if their parents were members of the Communist Party, they could travel abroad and sometimes buy a chewing gum, the real chewing gum of there. They would also bring vinyl records of the newly released albums from the West. The real bubble gum was made with the chicle, natural sap from the trees grown in Mexico. These trees didn't grow in the Soviet Union. There was a hockey game in Moscow, Canadians versus Soviets. Canadians sat on one side, and they were divided from the Soviets with dividers and militia. The world is closing in, and did you ever think that we could be so close, like brothers? It was a friendly game, and Canadian fans wanted to communicate with the Soviet civilization, who were as foreign to them as they were to the Soviets. Canadians knew that there was no better way to make friends with the Soviets than by bringing chewing gum. After the first half, Canadian fans started waving and showing that they have chewing gum. Hey, you want some chewing gum? The Soviet crowd could not think of a better gift from the guests than the chewing gums. Then they started jumping all over the place. In the meantime, Canadian photographers were surprised by that and started taking pictures of the Soviet crowd getting so crazy about the simple chewing gum. Some Communist Party members saw that and they were scared. So they decided to kill the lights in the entire stadium. As a result, 20 people died in this chaos. The next day, Communist Party had a closed meeting where they decided that they must build a chewing gum factory. But they made Soviet gum. What they made was hard, and it did not taste good. It tasted like dried orange peel sprinkled with sugar powder. It was hard to chew, and after some time, your facial muscles would hurt. The Soviet Union collapsed. I became a fan of all kinds of music. My best companion was a cassette player. I listened to The Winds of Change 1,000 times. I also liked all kinds of music, classical, folk, instrumental, up to drum and bass, heavy metal, and acid music. I didn't know at that time the origins of these names, but eventually I became a chemist, and I learned the difference between heavy metals and acids. Distant memories are buried in the streets forever, but I'm convinced that the bubble gums and music were the true and most powerful reason for the fall of the Soviet Union. To me, this is another example of the small things, a piece of chewing gum or a catchy melody that can herald the end and the beginning of great things in the world. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Well done.